Hi guys, let's look at the crypto 10 today. Um, so you guys can see that I've got the monthly chart open, and I can see that we had an inverted head and shoulders pattern here with the neckline being there. Another thing that I can see is that we had a W formation in this zone with the neckline being there. And as I usually say, that when it comes to W formations, ideally would love to see price break the neckline, come back to retest it, and then push further up. However, we never got to see a retest of this neckline and then price pushing up. So what this tells us is that it is quite possible that price may come back to this level to retest it before actually pushing up again. So before we proceed, what I'm going to do is add a neckline to that W structure. Just bear with me. So there goes our neckline. Similarly, I'm going to add a neckline to that head and shoulders pattern because it's also very important. There we go. And just remember that necklines are not actual lines, but they are areas like so. So let's proceed. Is there anything else that we see on this chart that is interesting or significant or important? At this point, I do not see anything else. Before we head to the weekly chart, I think I should just point out that because this neckline, let me just bring out my drawing tool, because the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern has been broken. What may happen next is that price may head to the neckline to test it and then push further down to this area to test the neckline of this particular W structure that I spoke about. So let's proceed. So from here, I'm going to head over to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. What do we see on this weekly chart that is interesting or significant? So as much as we had this particular head and shoulders pattern that we spoke about, I see that we also had a W formation in this region with the neckline being there. Price came back to retest that neckline. However, that neckline was not able to hold, and we saw price pushing further down, making this W structure invalid. Another very important thing is that when it comes to W formations, what normally happens is upon the formations forming, a lot of traders and investors would wait for the second leg to form and then buy at this region and then buy again at this region once the neckline has been broken. And that is exactly what we saw in this region where we have this W, right? So a lot of investors and traders bought at this point and then bought again at this point over here. So what happened next is that the market maker saw that formation, or rather the market maker knows that all of the people who bought in this region and that region put their stop losses just below that W structure. Hence, we saw this entire move downwards. This whole move was actually a stop hunt to grab all of those stop losses that were below this W structure, right? So let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting or significant? So as much as I say that this was a W structure, it is actually also an M formation with the neckline being there. And the neckline has been broken. So what we anticipate next is for the neckline, or rather for price to go back to the neckline to retest it. Just like we said that we have this head and shoulders pattern and price broke the neckline, and we also expect price to go back to the neckline to retest it. So what I'm going to do right now, just to add some confidence, is to use my Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if the neckline of that particular M structure is in line with any of the key areas that we have on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So just bear with me. There we go, guys. So I think it's safe to say that the neckline is in line with the 38.2%. Let me just plot it. So there goes our information with the neckline being there. Price broke the neckline, went back to the neckline to retest it. So we can see that the neckline is in line with the 38.2% Fibonacci zone. Similarly, it means that the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern is also the 32.8% zone. So this is a good area to look for selling opportunities. Just bear with me while I delete this Fibonacci tool. So as I was saying, this area right here would be a good zone to look for selling opportunities, and I would say that the first take profit should be just bear with me while I make this bigger. I would say that the first take profit should be where this candlestick is, which is a bearish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. Why do I say this candle? It's because where it ends, there's a whole lot of liquidity there. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is just add a line to it so that we don't forget about the fact that we have liquidity at that point. Just bear with me. There we go. So in case you don't see it properly, just bear with me. I just want to show it to you. It's this candlestick over here. It's actually a doji. Nonetheless, let us continue. So this tells us that price has to come to this point at least after having tested this neckline, right? That would be our first take profit, in my humble opinion. Our second take profit, in my humble opinion, would be this candlestick over here again, which is also very much similar in that it is a liquidity candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. So that could be our second take profit, and our third take profit could be actually the neckline of that particular W structure that I spoke about on the monthly chart. So let's actually get into the smaller time frames to look for more reasons why we should be actually selling. So from here, what I'm going to do is head over to the daily chart. So here we are on the daily chart. The first thing that I'm going to do on this particular daily chart is actually add my channel. Just bear with me. There we go. We just need to ensure that our channel is as accurate as possible. There we go. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting or significant? So we also have another liquidity candlestick over here, which tells us that where it ends, we have a whole lot of liquidity there, and that the market has to grab that liquidity. What else do we see? Similarly, we also have another liquidity candlestick there. However, this particular candlestick is a bullish candlestick with a small body and a long upper wick. So there's liquidity there. So what this tells us is that there is scope actually for price to go to this area, not only because of this candle, but because we have a neckline at this point of that M structure that I spoke about, as well as of that huge head and shoulders pattern that I spoke about. So there is scope for price to come back to this region to test it, and as I said, this is where we would look for further selling opportunities, right? So let's continue. I don't see anything else of value on this particular chart, except that we also had this particular area over here where the market seems to be moving sideways, right? As I said, guys, I would love to see price come to this region to test it out and then push further down to grab all of those areas that I spoke about at the bottom. So what I'm going to do right now is move over to the H4 chart. first thing that I'm going to do on this particular H4 chart is just fix my daily channel. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. There we go. That should be fine. Let's continue. The next thing that I'm going to do on my H4 chart is attempt to actually add a channel if possible. Let me see. Could I possibly add one in this manner? Let's see. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Actually, I would add my channel in this manner. So what I'm going to do next is actually make it a different color so that it stands out from the current, or rather the channel that we drew on the daily chart. So I'll make it a green color. There we go. So what else can we see on this chart, which is the H4 chart? Let's see. Another very interesting thing is that we also have this area here, or rather this candlestick over here, which is also a liquidity candlestick. So as much as the scope for price to actually move up, there's also scope for price to move down to grab some liquidity. We also have another liquidity candlestick here. In fact, we have two in that region. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, so that's it, guys. So at the moment the market is moving sideways. As I said, it's moving sideways, and to be honest, at this point I don't really see any opportunities in as far as buying or selling is concerned at this point in time. So what I would do, actually, just to go back to the daily chart, is I would wait for price to actually break out of this box that we spoke about, to come to this area, to test this zone where we have the neckline of that huge M structure, as well as of that huge head and shoulders pattern, right? And then look for selling opportunities, as I said, and hold all the way to the areas that I spoke about actually earlier. So that is it, guys, in as far as the crypto 10 is concerned. That is my analysis. If you have any further questions, just let me know. If you would like me to have a look at any other charts, just let me know. Thanks, guys, for watching, and peace out.